Everybody, Jason Davis here live from McIntyre's in Washington, D.C. World Cup 2018 has hit day 3 of the tournament. 4 games today. I am sitting next to Nate Scott from SB Nation, who joins me to talk about everything we just witnessed. Now, the recency effect would lead me to want to talk about Nigeria and Croatia, Nate, which did not go Nigeria's way. Croatia with the 2-0 victory. But I think we have to go all the way back to the first game of the morning. I want to be...
That was 9 years ago.
It was a long time ago. And I know you were tweeting about how little sleep you've gotten with this tournament underway.
It's World Cup.
France-Australia this morning, super early for us on the East Coast. People on the West Coast, I don't even know.
They stayed out all night, I think.
I picked France to win this tournament. It's possible to start slow in the tournament. Now, they won the game. That's the important thing. 3 points is 3 points. It doesn't matter. It's possible to start slow from a performance standpoint and still go on to win it. What I want to ask you, should I be worried about France right now?
From a talent standpoint or from a coach standpoint? Or from an everything standpoint?
From the things that would keep them from winning a World Cup standpoint.
I'm a little worried about Didier Deschamps. Yeah. I'm a little bit worried about their coach. When I was watching France's friendlies, I kept noticing that when the game was wide open, they looked terrifying. Right. Because when you've got Mbappe and Griezmann and Dembele running at you,
3 or 4 guys running at a back line retreating,
there's nothing you can do. They're too fast, they're too good. When teams pack it in against them, as we saw in that United States men's national team friendly,
and as we saw today,
again, they didn't seem to have too many ideas. Now, that's for a few reasons. Payet's hurt, which obviously really limits their abilities to get more creative midfielders in there. But Deschamps is also a pretty stubborn dude, and I think he basically said, this is the way we're playing. We're going to have Tolisso in there in the midfield with Pogba and Kanté, and we're going to gum up the midfield. We're going to win the balls, and we're going to get up to our 3 guys, and they're going to score.
Right, but so obviously, not necessarily without a creative influence in midfield. You're relying on either, in this case, with the way that he played this lineup, with Griezmann to drop deep to pick the ball up, or for somebody like Pogba, or it's not going to be Kanté, so maybe it's Tolisso to make the run forward, to be the guy that pressures the defense and allows for those options to avail themselves. That didn't happen against Australia. So again, this World Cup is trending in the same direction a lot of World Cups do, where you have sort of a talent gap, and it leads to one team to play conservatively, I guess, is the way to say it. Australia, certainly, that's the right approach for them. Van Marwijk had no reason to play any other way.
Yeah, of course.
That's probably not going to how there are teams that are better than Australia who won't have the ability or choose to play the way that they did against France, right?
Yes.
So in the quarterfinals, the semifinals, you're playing against teams that can go toe-to-toe with France, probably makes it better for France.
Yeah, actually, I think in games that things are opening up, then it just becomes a matter of their outside backs, and can Pavard hang with the world's best when they get to that level? And I honestly think France is so talented that, yes, they're probably going to get through the group stage. Once we get deeper in the tournament, they're as good as anyone. They can make a run. For me, then it becomes, all right, are they good enough in defense? Are they good enough in their outside backs? Can Deschamps, if someone throws a wrench at them, is he creative enough as a manager to... today they had 3 like-for-like substitutions, basically, that didn't really seem to do anything, but then they get a goal off a deflection and they win.
Well, you say that. Obviously, he didn't start. I'm going to put the stats up here from this game and get the there we go. I've got, so France with 51% of the possession, just edging it over Australia, which I think would be a surprise for most people, but again, it's about how France was sort of frustrated in creating opportunities in the attacking end. Both teams passed the ball very well. But it's the number of passes, I guess, that people would probably look at. And I guess for France, you mentioned the like substitutions, but what comes to mind is Giroud not starting, Griezmann starting, the choice of the 4-3-3 with Dembele and Mbappe, and that sounds so good on paper. Why? So I guess we've already kind of addressed it. Let's go direct to it. Why is that not as effective against a team that's going to put, you sit in with 2 lines of 4 and really pack it in?
Yeah, because Mbappe and Dembele need space. They need room to work, and when they had that space, there's no one better, and they're devastating. And you could kind of see it in Australia. There were times where they were almost conceding possession to Australia to basically say, listen, come at us. We want you to come. and we feel more comfortable going full forward.
If you don't get stretched out, if you don't leave some space in behind for us, we don't know what to do.
Then we don't really know what to do. And Pogba is who he is. He's not going to be the guy who kind of he likes to trail behind a play. He likes to wait for that ball to come in at the top of the box. That's what he wants. He's not going to make that. He's rarely going to make that huge run in. He wants to be the one providing it.
Right.
Toliso's not doing that. The outside backs weren't getting forward, so now it's just up to the three guys to kind of create something out of nothing.
Right. All right, so here are the Group C standings, and we're going to talk about Denmark-Peru because that was the third game of the day today. France gets the win. They're atop of the group. And again, that's what matters here.
Of course.
They don't – and whatever Australia did, no matter how Australia pushed France a little bit, ultimately they get – Now, do you worry about better teams being able to keep France scoring? Of course. That's sort of what we talked about.
Yep.
Defensively, Australia didn't go crazy with chances, but they certainly made it difficult on the French, and we know that if there's any weakness in that team, at least in terms of playing elite clubs, or elite countries rather, it's going to be in defense. So a sense of how they perform today versus how they might perform against some of the elites of Europe and South America.
I mean, I think France will be good. When you have those three, you can get a goal out of nothing, and that's sort of how they're created. I'm a little worried about Pavard at right back.
Yeah.
He seemed at times a little overwhelmed by Australia, which is like, he's young and it's the World Cup and maybe it's a first game, but he didn't seem to really want to get going ahead in attack, and in defense a couple times he was clearing the ball. He committed a couple silly fouls early where it's like the one way Australia is going to score is off a free kick, off a set piece, and so why are you fouling 30 yards out, which maybe he'll settle down. He's a quality player. But again, that's my only real question mark, I guess.
All right, so I threw up the group standings. I guess we can stay in this group and talk about Denmark-Peru before we go to what happened with Argentina-Iceland today, and obviously Nigeria and Croatia, the game we just saw. So Denmark and Peru, would you call them evenly matched teams in this tournament? Maybe. You know, I think obviously Peru had a lot of expectations coming into the tournament because they hadn't been there in so long. Denmark is, I don't know, what would you say, upper third in Europe? I mean, pretty good side.
They're a good team.
They're not going to dominate.
Like a B plus. Yeah, exactly.
So how did that game go according to your expectations?
I guess that was how I thought it would go. Peru creates stuff and they make stuff happen. They're not afraid to try anything, and then sometimes that becomes some really frustrating performances where in the first half everyone was shooting from 40 yards, and then in the second half they stopped shooting from 40 yards, and then they all stopped shooting. They just kept passing the ball.
Doing nothing.
It was like they took the manager's halftime talk too literally or something. I don't know. I thought Paulo Guerrero, when he came on, was a difference maker, and then...
Well, so the question for a lot of people is why Paulo Guerrero didn't start.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows.
I don't know. That was, I mean, when he came on, it was like, oh, this is what they've been missing for the last 60 minutes or whatever it was. He all of a sudden was that calming presence in the box. I love Christian.
Well, he was
Cueva.
a presence in the box.
He was a presence in the box
because you didn't get anything like that out of Farfan, and Cueva was the other one who was actually doing anything on the attacking end for Peru. So you had guys who were slashing. But then, you bog down in the final third. You bog down in zone 14, if you want to be specific about it, or even cutting in from the wings, and there's stuff, and packed in. And Denmark organized enough, not packed in, but organized enough to make it hard for him.
I mean, I guess the argument is he wasn't with them in friendlies. They put some wonderful performances in the lead up to the World Cup. When Cueva gets going, he starts making those little darting runs out of the midfield, and he's hard to track. But once Guerrero got in there, it just seemed like a totally different team. There was a central point, there was a focal point. Everything started making sense.
Well, look, I mean, you can't overlook the missed penalty. I mean, that's a massive, massive moment for Peru. First, trying to score your first goal since 1982 in the World Cup, and he blows it over the bar. I don't want to be too cruel about that situation. It's tough. I mean,
but that's the other reason. Guerrero's not in the team. You have a 25-year-old who's in his first World Cup, taking a penalty in a big moment. And I think Cueva's a special player. I think he's going to be great. But I don't know if that's a guy I'd want taking a kick in a World Cup game. And that also, I thought, allowed Denmark to do what they want to do, which is defend well, spring Christian Eriksen on a counterattack. He's going to make a beautiful pass, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So.
It's certainly disappointing for Peru. It probably means, I mean, if you think about the way the group's going to play out, I mean, that's where we are now. Let me throw up the standings again if I can find them, because I want to make sure that we talk about how this stuff is going to look in the end. So Denmark with the win. France won against Australia today. Peru and Australia are trailing. So you've got France, Denmark coming up, and Australia, Peru, right?
Yeah.
So obviously one of the bottom two teams can grab a win. They have to, right? That has to be the way to play this. And France can lock down their knockout round berth with a win over Denmark. So what is, again, sort of looking ahead is hard because we still have groups to play.
Yeah, of course.
So many teams haven't played yet. But when you talk about what's next in this group, how do you see it playing out?
I think Denmark's going to be tough for France for the exact same reasons that Australia was. I mean, before the game this morning, Kim McCauley, my colleague, and I both said everyone needs to be on the watch out for a France upset. Yeah. And I think Denmark's going to do exactly the same thing. They're going to welcome pressure. They're going to defend like crazy, and they're going to try and spring Christian Eriksen. And as Australia showed, you can nick a goal off France. That was ridiculous today with MTV, but that was weird.
Well, I mean, and those moments are going to happen. And so let's talk about, because one of the things coming into the tournament, and like I was a doomsday guy. I'm not a fan of VAR. It's not my thing.
Okay.
I understand why you want to try it. I just don't know that it's ever going to work in application the way people really want it to. That's always been my beef. It's not like we had a moment today. We had a penalty correctly called on VAR.
Yes.
But and those moments are going to happen, but there are going to be occasions as well where, and we've seen this in MLS, and we've seen it in the Bundesliga, and we've seen it in a number of places where somebody says, "Oh, take a look at that," and we're just overturning a 60-40 or a 50-50 call.
I'm with you on that, and what I'm, the letter of the law is supposed to be
clear and obvious.
It's a clear and obvious mistake.
Yeah.
You pull it back. What I noticed today, and it's only natural, I saw linesmen go to lift their flag and kind of put it down again.
I have heard that, and I can't remember where I saw this. It obviously was filtered through somebody who's in Russia, but I've heard that they've been told, if there's any question at all,
let them play.
Don't let them play. And I think that's if you have VAR, that's the right way to treat it.
Exactly.
It's going to frustrate people.
And I'm seeing it with the ref now too, though, where the refs are. That was probably a penalty. Maybe that was a penalty. I'm not going to call it, and then I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the VAR guys, where it's supposed to be. I made a decision. VAR either called down and said, "Hey, you missed something very obvious there." So I don't know. There were moments there where there were a couple. I mean, we had a few VAR moments today. We had the penalty against France,
right?
Or the penalty for France.
For France.
Yeah, for France. Sorry. That's a 50-50. He got the back leg. I mean, like I can sort of see it. And then the Cueva one was also
it was a VAR
that was the one
situation.
with the back leg. And
I had no problem with that call. I mean, in terms of overturning the referee's call, I thought, okay, VAR did what it was supposed to do. Somebody said, I think that's a penalty in the box. That's a clear, obvious error. He looked at it. He overturned his call. That was, and it didn't take too long. It didn't completely disrupt. I still don't like that, but I understand. And there was maybe 15 seconds of play back down the field before the whistle blew, because you can't just stop play in the middle.
And I guess I'm okay. For me, I guess I'm okay with it. In some of the other leagues, they'll do the thing where if it's like in the NBA, you can review some things, but you can't review a foul call. And for me, it's sort of like, if you can review stuff, let's just review it. Like, let's just do it.
So you're just piling on top. And again,
exactly.
My issue is always about judgment calls. And I think I'm so wrapped up in the World Cup. I don't know, but I think Major League Baseball just had some controversy in the last day or two with their replay system. And clearly, if I thought that there was a way to get every single call correct, and VAR was going to fix everything, I would be 100% on board with it.
Yeah.
I just know that we're just kicking the can down. I've said this phrase so many times with the VAR.
Yeah.
We're kicking the can down the road. It's the first level. It's that clear and obvious standard.
Yeah.
And that's really where
There was one ref today, and I'm forgetting which game because I've watched 4 games today, and I'm very tired. But there were 2 handballs in the box, which were clearly incidental.
Sure.
And the ref just said, no.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing that. We're not doing. And they were kind of pointing, like, are we doing VAR? I said, no. I saw it hit his hand. I was right there.
Yeah.
I'm calling. It was like, all right. I like that. I guess it puts more onus on the refs to kind of really own their decisions.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's weird. The whole thing is
weird. You
weird.
had the back arm, a deflection onto the back arm. Again, spacing.
There's
but I think
many
that
games.
was maybe Denmark. I may be wrong about that.
Okay.
Maybe it was Iceland. Maybe it was the Argentina.
I think that might have been it. Yeah.
So the second of 4 games today, and then Umtiti was obvious. I mean, I don't think there's any argument there.
Yeah. He punched the ball out of the air.
Why you put your hand up in the air?
Yeah.
On that situation. So again, I think. I don't know. We haven't had a controversial moment. And while I am Team Chaos in terms of the results for this World Cup, I'm not Team Chaos on the VAR because I don't want it to mar the feeling of the tournament. So at this point, we're okay with it.
I've actually been surprised by how they've gotten it for the most part right. There hasn't, every single one today was sort of everyone's like, yeah, all right, that's probably a penalty that was called back. I was expecting, I guess, more banter. Yeah. Of course, we just got stuck on the Messi Ronaldo thing.
Well,
and sorry, I don't mean to segue into that.
We've gone 15 minutes without mentioning it, and I'm gonna be meta about it. Okay, because I have no interest in arguing about what Ronaldo did yesterday versus what Messi did today.
They're in different cities.
Compare them to. They're different. There's no reason for Lionel Messi to wake up this morning in Russia, which I'm guessing is 15 hours ago at this point, and think to himself, I really have to match what Ronaldo did. Mm-hmm. He's not doing that. Yep. He wants to win the game with his country.
Of course.
And turning this into a binary, and I guess maybe that's where we're at. Everything is a binary at this point.
Everything's a binary. I mean, I guess they're the 2 biggest names, and neither have won a World Cup, and so this is something we have to do. For me, it feels a little Mad Libsy. It's kind of like, well, Iran won yesterday. Why are we not talking about their midfielder?
We're forcing a narrative.
We're forcing a narrative. For me, it's just there's such different games. Ronaldo had an amazing, wonderful game against a Spain team where he had some space to work, and he got lucky a couple times. Iceland built their entire team to stop Lionel Messi, and he nearly beat them anyway. I mean, for me, it's such a silly thing to discuss because, I mean, if we're looking at the stats right here, Argentina had 72% of the possession.
72% possession. 718 completed passes. I mean, this is one count. I'm sure there are different counts out there. 718 completed passes to 189.
Yeah.
And I saw one of our colleagues, Jonathan Tannewald of Philly.com, say something. He was being a little. Whatever. He was being a little jerky with his comment about, the United States and playing that similar style and people complaining about it when we're all celebrating Iceland.
Yeah.
I don't think it's comparable. There's a difference there. And somebody else pointed out, hey, our attack isn't as good as Iceland's attack when they do have opportunities. And maybe there's a thing there. But not to make it about us.
Yeah.
Iceland was always going to be in that situation. And really, at the World Cup, and I'm with this. I'm with the idea that you do whatever's necessary in those situations. Iceland
100%
played their game. I know we're going to be talking more about Argentina coming out of it because of the pressure on Messi, because Argentina is listed among the favorites, even though we kind of doubted them.
That's an imperfect team to be listed as one of the favorites.
Imperfect team, but they made a final in 2014, and they have this world-class, greatest of all time type of player in their team. When you watch that game, because at one point when it was 1-1, after Iceland came back and answered Sergio Aguero's goal, I said if Argentina keeps playing like that, it could be 4-4. Now it turned out not to be only in part because Iceland had no interest in having the ball.
Yes.
So they were fine with playing it out at 1-1. From Argentina's perspective, how damaging is a draw in that game?
I think they have to be okay with that. And the reason is Iceland, I'd argue, does this as well as exactly what they did today. They're very good at what they do. I mean, that's what they do. They're built to do it. Iceland played Portugal in 2016, and Cristiano Ronaldo had 11 shots. I think Ryan O'Hanlon tweeted that out today from The Ringer.
Got 8,000 likes or something. I was like, wow, Ryan.
Way to go, Ryan.
Wow.
But he brought up a great point. This is what Iceland is built to do. They're very good at it. If you're Argentina, do you rue some chances? Yes. I mean, the amount of talent that's on that bench, I might have gone to someone a little earlier and just seen, for me, I understand why Dybala's not in the team to start, maybe for fit issues, but
Sure.
At that point, it's not like Iceland. It's not like you need some midfielders in there to cover up for Iceland who aren't trying to do anything. They're just trying to so get some creative players in there.
Get some creative. And look, I mean, we're going to come to this game. I know France is extremely young. Nigeria is extremely young. Argentina's on the opposite end of that spectrum. Yes. At least in terms of their starting lineup, what they're leaning on, what Sampioli's looking. And I saw something today, and this makes sense to me, and I'll get your thoughts on it. Sampioli basically came in and said, "Okay, I want to play the way I want to play. I want to press high. I want to bring my line. I want to bring my high line to try to compress the field. I want to turn the ball over, get Lionel Messi some opportunities." And basically, he realized over the course of his tenure with Argentina, I don't have the players to do this, and they're not going to respond to me wanting them to do this in the first place.
Yep.
So he's had to back off, and now you don't even have a Sampioli team in terms of identity with Argentina, so they have a disconnect there.
It's a strange team. They're so gifted, and Messi's so brilliant that they can kind of retain possession. Again, Iceland didn't care, but for me, I described the game in the first half as like a dental exam with an occasional mosh pit breaking out, which, as you know, that happens.
Sure,
but,
all the time.
But for me, it was sort of this Argentina team that was kind of carefully poking, prodding, trying to find the right angle, sort of working the ball around. But when you have that back four, you've got Marcos Rojo running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and at times they're pressing high, at times they're sort of backing off. They really rely on Mascherano to kind of keep the whole thing going. And in the second half, when Iceland sort of backed off, I thought they did a better job of that. But
this is the group stage, though. And then again, sort of talking about what Australia did against France and what we've seen elsewhere in the tournament so far, you've got, I mean, the more evenly the matched teams, the usually more open it's going to be. You can't really account for something like Iceland, who doesn't have the ability to play with Argentina. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my wires are being crossed.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Australia against France, and say, well, we all know what we're going to get from those games. It's just whether or not the impetus is on the France or the Argentina to try to break down that defensive setup.
And I guess, Argentina, in that way, sort of reminds me of France in that they've got absolutely gifted players, and I don't know how they're going to handle things. I think France might even be better built to handle things than Argentina is when the game opens up.
Sure.
Because, yes, Aguero and Messi can create out of nothing. They can always score goals. Di Maria is still a brilliant player. He's not even that old, but, I guess he's on the wrong side of 30. But that back four is all over the place. They I guess today were getting pulled up because Iceland just didn't care, and they were getting pulled out of position. But there were times in that first half where it was like, what is Argentina? I don't even know what tactics they're playing. They're just sort of all running around like crazy.
Obviously we haven't even mentioned yet that Messi missed the penalty as part of this, and that obviously that changes the game. If Argentina scores there, it's a different match, and you can't. Iceland's not built to play. They got their goal. Actually, they responded well. I was going to say they're not built to play from behind, but but in this case, they did manage to, because that back line with Argentina is such a tire fire.
And that's what I guess my concern is with an Argentina team is, yes, they can score. I don't know if they can see out a game. Like who on that team other than Mascherano and Messi and maybe Di Maria can see out a game? They started a 25-year-old Maximiliano Meza at right wing today. I don't know a lot about him. He looks fine. But this team seems to be, Sampioli wants to play in a certain way. I don't know if they're ready to play that way. I have a weird time making sense of this Argentina team, but I guess I'm concerned.
No, I think you have to be. And you have to be concerned now based on what's going on in the rest of the group, right?
Yes.
So Argentina doesn't take advantage of the weakest team in the group.
Yep.
And now they have to worry about now it's about getting out of the group, not just
Yep.
winning the group, right? So we haven't talked about Nigeria and Croatia yet.
I don't know. After that game, I think Nigeria might be the weakest.
Well, they lost, so that obviously is a big blow to them now.
Of course.
You expect, I mean, again, you can't expect now, I guess, Iceland to roll over for anybody. So
No.
if that's the case, I mean, what is it going to be to get out of this group? Goal difference is probably going to be a big deal in this group.
And, I mean, that's the big one. Argentina has to beat Croatia, and Croatia's good.
They're good.
Croatia's really good.
Yeah.
And I sort of wrote a tongue-in-cheek column today making fun of this whole Ronaldo-Messi situation by saying, like, well, they both tied, so I don't know why we're all freaking out here. And that's
completely different feelings around
completely different
Obviously,
feelings.
like
and
Spain is not Iceland, but
Exactly.
I just it's funny though.
Yeah.
How big of a deal it is that Portugal, and they had the lead in that game.
Yeah.
They could have seen that game
Yeah.
out. They didn't. They had the heroics to get the draw out of it. Now the group sets up for them nicely. Now.
Exactly. The group sets up for them nicely. They're in a much better position than Argentina is. I'm not panicking about Argentina yet, but in terms of like getting to another final, this group is going to have to make some strides based on what I've seen over the last
So we
few
established that maybe Argentina doesn't deserve to be in the elite group. The Brazil, Germany, France group. I suppose Spain could be thrown in there.
Spain probably, yeah.
You know, again.
I almost might throw in Portugal in there. I like this Portugal team a lot.
They know how to play. They know how to play together.
Exactly.
Right? They know their system. They understand it. They're not going to be the sexiest of that group.
No.
But of the teams we've seen, and if you want to throw Portugal in there, fine. Who of the quote-unquote favorites, and we're waiting on Brazil and Germany tomorrow, has impressed you the most? How would you rank them? How about that? Let's do it that way.
How would I rank them? I think I would put Spain first.
Okay. Because even though they gave up a penalty, even though they had the howler from De Gea,
those were two weird goals that they gave up. I thought they looked brilliant.
And don't foul 20 yards from a goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, to have your coach fired the day before the World Cup is and then come in and put together a performance like that, while imperfect, David De Gea is not going to do that again. Sergio Ramos might screw his head back on.
He might.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I just think they're a very complete team. They're the right balance, I think, of veteran leadership and talent. I love how they young talent, I should say. I love how they've got Diego Costa running up there. It's like just totally disconnected from the rest. It's like this beautiful ballet and then just like a badger running around.
You know, it's so funny that's where they are now because, and I made a reference when we did a pregame or a show before that game. I said, look, you don't expect Spain to be in a position where they're going to lump the ball up to Diego Costa, but they essentially did that, and they have that weapon. And one of the things I think is interesting is when even if you have a team that has an identity and a system, is when they have a plan B or a plan C, or they go, look, this isn't working. We can't play through the middle. They're clogging things up, whatever it is. Let's just go find that guy. And if you have that one game changer, you don't expect Diego Costa to lead Spain to a World Cup title, but he can be the difference for them when plan A is not working.
Exactly. And for me, that's what I love so much about that Spain team is in the second half when they had the lead. I mean, Ronaldo hit a beautiful free kick, but they had that 10-minute span where they were just moving the ball through the midfield, and Portugal couldn't touch them. I mean, and for me, that's what's so beautiful about them. But they also have it where in the first half things got gummed up a little bit, and they huffed it up to Costa, and he made something out of nothing. Elbowed Pepe in the neck, and he got a goal.
Well, I mean, the reason that can be effective is not only because Diego Costa is a rabid pit bull at center forward, but also because nobody expects them to pull that out. And you can't game plan for that.
Yes.
I mean, you know it's there. Every team in the world sort of somewhat accustomed to playing Route 1 football, playing against Route 1 football, but you don't necessarily go, Spain, this is what we need to focus on.
Yes. So I guess I have Spain 1. 2...
Neither one of them have impressed you.
Who? What do you mean?
So who have we got?
Yeah, Argentina.
Argentina, France.
France 2, Portugal 3.
Okay, you put Portugal in there. Okay.
Portugal 3, Argentina 4.
That's harsh. I mean, not harsh on Argentina because of their performance. I just mean I think it would surprise a lot of people that's where we are right now.
Portugal was one of the teams I watched a lot in the run-up. We kind of divvied up national teams to watch in the friendlies, and Portugal just seemed to me like a team that knew exactly what they were, and I was like, that's a team that does well in tournaments because they've got a bunch of guys out there who don't particularly care, and Cristiano Ronaldo's given the freedom to sort of create as he sees fit. So, and I saw them run out 4-4-2s. I saw them run out 3-5-2s, 4-2-3-1s. They have different looks. Guedes didn't have a great opener, I thought. He didn't play extremely well against Spain, but I think he's actually a nice counterpart to Ronaldo in that he's fast and he's big and he doesn't really care. He's young. He defers to Ronaldo, which you sort of need. And for me, they've got a bunch of good defenders. They can bring guys in off the bench. João Mario is a nice player they can bring in off the bench to create something. João Moutinho's still a phenomenal player. It relies on Ronaldo to do what he does.
Well, so obviously the argument against Portugal it comes down to those center backs and how old they are. Because as by international football standards, they're practically geriatric at this point. And we always know that Pepe is liable to do something crazy at some point. So I mean, that if they can maintain their heads and they can keep teams from being able to play in behind, they'll probably be okay.
And I think that's sort of the difference for me. I just see Portugal and Argentina as two teams with generational talent. I'd rank Messi a hair above Ronaldo, but who cares? I mean, they're both generational talents. And
who cares? That's an important message from Nate Scott. Who cares?
It doesn't matter.
Watch them both. Enjoy them both.
It's soccer.
Let me do an online poll right now. The 5,000th person.
Exactly. But for me, I just like the way Portugal's built a little bit better than Argentina. I think they're both flawed teams, but I think Portugal has players who know what their jobs are and they don't care, and they're gonna for the most part stay organized. They're gonna defend. There's some question marks in center back, but
look, you can't discount. I mean, I know they've got a couple of new pieces and younger guys that maybe weren't featured or maybe weren't even in the team in 2016. But they know how to win something. They've had a taste of that, and that you can't discount that.
Exactly.
At a World Cup, Argentina has come up against it time and time again, and keeps running into the brick wall. At some point, based on their age as well, you kind of expect them to go, "Oh man, are we doing this again? Like this is just too hard. Why is it still so hard?"
And I mean, I think Portugal will get out of the group easily. Not easily, but I think they'll get out of the group. Argentina, I think they're going to have to battle. I think they'll take care of a young Nigeria side because they're sort of built to take advantage of not super well organized teams. I think Denmark's going to be hard. So, I don't know. Right now, just based on what I'm seeing, where they're at in their groups, of the four we've seen, I've got Brazil and Germany ahead of all of these teams. But
that's the thing. That's what's coming up tomorrow. We haven't seen either one of those teams play. What's the opener tomorrow? What's our first game of the day tomorrow? Costa Rica, and it's not in my head right now. I think pull up the groups. No, it's okay. You're fried. I get it. I mean,
I've been up since 4:30, y'all. I'm so sorry. It's Costa Rica versus.
Don't have to apologize.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull up my calendar because it's all in there. We'll take. I mean, everybody right now is like, "Hey, what are you guys talking about?"
These idiots. They write about soccer for a living. Good lord.
All right, so you've got Costa Rica and Serbia to open us up tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Mitrovic show.
And then Germany, Mexico, which is a massive game. I mean, I think it'd be a massive game in any tournament, but I think it's especially big in this one. And obviously Mexico, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on them now. We certainly could talk about them a little bit. I know there's all this push for Americans to root for Mexico. I don't have an issue. I'm not going to root for them, but if you want to follow Landon Donovan down that dark path, be my guest. I don't really care. And then Brazil versus Switzerland, which those are tests for those two favorites. Those are actual tests. You want to spend time on Costa Rica, Serbia? Because I wouldn't really be able to go deep into that one.
I think it'll be fun, but no.
Okay, that's fair enough. So if we're talking,
both those teams are going to kick the living crap out of each other.
Yeah, it's going to be bloody. If we're talking about the favorites, and there are still outsider-ish teams to come. Because I was asked today, who outside of the major favorites, Brazil, Germany, whatever, might you look at? And while I'm not huge on Belgium for a couple of reasons.
Same.
People were talking about them.
Oh my God.
And I know England is getting a little buzz, at least maybe for a semi kind of run.
Yep.
And you never know if things break their way. But these are the two teams we're focused on. So give me a sense of what you expect out of Germany against Mexico, who has a tendency to play up to their competition and can make it hard.
I am a little nervous about this Mexico team.
Okay. But why? Where's the soft spot for them?
I think I'm a little concerned they want to play a certain way that maybe that their team cannot dictate that they can play. They want to play free-flowing, expressive, high-pressure, attacking soccer.
Mexico? No, never. That's never happened before.
I tip my cap. I applaud it. I love it. I don't know if you can play that way against Germany.
Yeah.
I mean, they interviewed the Mexico coach today, and he said, "We're going to play our game. We are afraid of no one. We are the best team in the. We are as good as anyone in the world. We're afraid of no one." And I'm saying, well, Germany's really good. Guys.
So much of the modern game. This is true on the club level, but when you're talking about this sort of limited World Cup experience in the month of games that you get, it can be even more sort of pressurized. So much of the game is about high pressure and midfield turnovers.
Yes.
And those becoming goals.
Yes.
And there's probably no team in the world better at it right now, and maybe Brazil can earn the title in this tournament.
Yep.
But right now there's no team better at that than Germany.
Exactly.
And if Mexico wants to play, they want to put numbers forward, they want to try to create in the attacking end, they turn the ball over, and now you have three retreating defenders, one of them who could be Rafael Marquez. I don't know. You're in trouble.
Yeah, and that's, I think, I don't want this Mexican national team to compromise their identity, and their coach might say, you know what, we need to play the way we're going to play. This is our identity, this is who we are, and this is how we're going to play. Germany will feast on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw the semifinal last year where Brazil said we're going to play the way we play. We're going to play our way. We're not going to compromise for anyone, and Germany hung 7 on them.
7.
I mean, that's sort of my concern with the game tomorrow. Now, Mexico, the players are. As you said, they have a tendency to rise to play to their opponent's level. I think is something that's been true of this team over the years. They're not afraid. And, if they catch Germany off the wrong foot and maybe hang on for 45 minutes and it's 0-0 after 45, maybe we get a game. I'm a little concerned because if your whole thing is we're going to press them high, we're going to force turnovers in midfield, who's better at handling that than Germany? They're built to handle that. They have 27 midfielders who can play out of trouble, and if one's not working, they'll bring another one in. And for me, I'm a little nervous that tomorrow could get out of hand.
So you have so we've gone through, and again, just sort of scrambled brains situation here. Portugal and Spain. So you had a Portugal team that you're putting into maybe among the favorites. Spain certainly walked into the tournament as one of the heavy favorites. That was a massive test for them. I think that's probably the biggest test for an out-and-out favorite so far. I don't think you can put Germany, Mexico quite in that category, but not too far away.
Yep.
And Brazil, Switzerland's not either. So we'll know more probably after this about Spain, which I think is why you still have them as the top team so far.
I think so. I still have them very high up because I rate Portugal highly. I think Portugal's a hard team to beat in a tournament setting, and I thought Spain did a really beautiful job.
Yeah.
They gave up.
And again,
three wacky goals. Exactly.
Yeah,
and so
all of them. All wacky goals. World-class free kicks.
The other team that, if Luis Suarez can get his head on right, Uruguay's built decently to do stuff. I mean, they're a kind of tournament team in that they're tenacious as hell. They defend like crazy, and they've got 2 guys who can score, which has proven to be an okay model for tournaments.
It's interesting you mentioned that game. Obviously, it seems like a distant memory.
That was a lifetime ago.
It was a long time ago. But I would also sort of get, again, this is my fascination with sort of, it's almost like styles make fights kind of boxing analogy, where you get a team like Uruguay, and they're not sort of as irrepressible as a Germany or a Brazil, but they're obviously have a talent advantage and a possession advantage over a team like Egypt. And you have Egypt, who I thought so organized, played so well,
great.
And yet their margin of error is so small, and ultimately Uruguay gets the goal from Jimenez that kind of deflates everything they did. And if they don't have Mo Salah, not everybody has a Mo Salah, so Egypt actually has a huge advantage there. Because at Iceland, you're counting on a team goal, maybe a little bit more, and that's even harder to come by. So this is going to be sort of a trend in the tournament that we see. Teams that are trying to stay well organized, trying to play against more difficult opponents, and whoever can do that is going to be the team that surprises and makes it into the next round. And this is not. I don't think this is unusual for a World Cup.
Yeah, and for me, I guess why I like Uruguay and Portugal, and to a lesser extent Egypt, is they're built in that method. It's just they've got nicer parts, I guess. It's sort of like we're going to defend like nuts, and we'll take our chances with our attackers. And it's just their attackers are better than Iceland's attackers, or a team like Tunisia, who I really like and think they're going to cause teams problems in this World Cup. But Tunisia, when they break, they don't have Cristiano Ronaldo breaking,
Exactly.
and so that's sort of the difference for me, and why I really do like Uruguay. I like Portugal because they can do that. They can frustrate teams. They can make it hard for them.
And the margin. So obviously Portugal, if you ask them, would you take a point against Spain to open up the tournament? They would have taken that no matter what, no matter what the performance was like.
Yep.
And Uruguay, they were that close to getting a draw against a team that they were supposed. That could have been a big problem for them in the group. But that the margin for a team like Uruguay and Argentina, right? So obviously Uruguay gets the win because they get the late goal. Argentina gives up a goal, doesn't take their penalty.
Yeah.
And now they're probably at least in a marginal trouble of not getting out of that group.
Yeah, I mean that's tournament soccer. It's just styles clashing, and Uruguay Egypt was a little more entertaining than it probably had any right to be. But that game was two teams that were not going to get scored on. It just worked out that Egypt got scored on at the very end.
Viva Queiroz.
Exactly.
You mentioned Iran. Actually, that's why I said Viva Queiroz, because Iran is Queiroz. But I got my wires crossed again on coaches. But Queiroz and Iran, because you mentioned them. That's why they were in my head.
Yeah.
You mentioned that win, and we don't expect them to do a bunch of stuff in this tournament. We don't expect them to advance out of the group stage more than likely. But at this point in the tournament, it is sort of about celebrating that sort of thing. Their second ever World Cup win.
Yep.
So the first one since '98. We don't need to relive that at all. And Morocco was the better team. Across 90 minutes, and Iran figured out a way to beat them.
Yeah, I mean that was.
I mean, there's an own goal, but
an own goal, and that was sort of, I guess that's what's so fun about is so many stylistic games are kind of playing out in similar ways. It's just with like different levels, and that Morocco wanted to attack, they wanted to possess. They've got midfielders who want to go at people, they want to dribble people. Iran was happy giving them possession, and then they nicked a late goal, and that can kind of do it. And I'm interested to see what keeps happening in that group, because I think Iran's going to be tough for anyone in that group. I mean, that's not a great group, that Group A. But
Group B.
That's Group B. That's Group B. I mean, Iran's going to be tough. They're going to sit back. Morocco, I'm
nobody knows. So first of all, you might have been able to imagine this group looking like this after one match day because of Spain playing Portugal to open up the tournament. But I don't even care. And again, maybe you don't expect Iran to get out at the expense of Portugal or Spain, but they get to look at this today.
I feel like Iran needs to, their FA needs to print out this on a poster on a mural on their wall and just save this moment for all eternity.
For one day, it's for a while there, Leicester's in first place was kind of like, oh, well, they should keep saving that. And now Leicester won the championship. Not going to happen for Iran. I'm going out on a limb saying that. But still, an amazing moment for them. And Morocco's tournament, on the opposite end of the spectrum, probably done at this point.
Yes.
And that's sad. But I want to make sure, my whole point here is that I want to make sure that we are sort of celebrating these in-tournament moments when we don't know what else is going to come, and we are sort of focused on the favorites at the same time. Because and for example, Russia. I have no love for the nation of Russia, but the fact that they got that win on home soil, they got to celebrate that moment. There may not be another one of those for them in this tournament.
Well, I think they can. Win that group. Yes, exactly. No guarantees. I watched a few Russia friendlies in the lead up to that World Cup. That's the best game they've played in years. Well, this team is not a great team. And
obviously, the argument is that Saudi Arabia is that bad.
Yes, I know, and Saudi Arabia is not a very strong squad. I will say my colleague Kim McCauley at SB Nation. She wrote a wonderful story on the bittersweetness of Dzagoev going down for Russia.
Right, yeah.
That their aging attacking center midfielder, and what that did was it just opened up their entire team, because it's what they probably should have done at the beginning of the tournament, which is you need to put Golovin, this 22-year-old kid who's going to get bought by Juventus or someone ridiculous.
Yeah,
for a lot of money.
He's the first, the first star so far in the tournament. And like again, 5 goals, 2 assists and a goal against Saudi Arabia. Maybe you don't rate that too highly, but he is getting that.
He did look. I mean, Russia's just got a lot of big beefy boys who are out there kicking people, and Saudi Arabia just couldn't handle their physicality. I mean, Saudi Arabia had 65% of the possession in that game, I think, but Russia just didn't care because they're bigger, faster, stronger.
It's obviously been an interesting tournament so far, and we have so many teams left to see.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about tomorrow. Again, I don't think anybody's circling Costa Rica Serbia as the game of the day, unless you are a Tico.
Yep.
Or a CONCACAF booster of some type. Maybe you're Landon Donovan or Alexi Lalas. I don't know if they're getting, if they're backing the Ticos or not. But so we've got the 2 games tomorrow. But who else are you looking forward to seeing? I mean, because we've still got days to go before our group stage has played 1 match day.
Belgium's the biggest question mark for me. This team is so talented. Roberto Martinez, who is a lovely human being by all accounts and a very good announcer. I think he's a very good on TV.
Yeah. Erudite.
Does not seem to have too many ideas about how to.
So is there a sense there, and I think maybe this is France's problem to a certain extent as well. And again, you mentioned Deschamps. I mean, it's the first place you go. It's like, does Deschamps have the ideas to make this work? It's almost like I have too many choices to make, right? Mm-hmm. It's the paralysis by analysis situation. There's just so much there for me to deal with. And yes, I know I'm throwing Kevin De Bruyne on the field, and I know I'm throwing Eden Hazard on the field, but how do I make this thing work as a cohesive unit? And look, this is the history of the game. This is the history of tactics.
And for me, I always had a knock on Jurgen Klinsmann when things were bad, that I sometimes thought his tactics weren't so much about this is the best way to set up the team, but if I pull this off, I'm going to look like a genius. And for me, I see that a little bit with Roberto Martinez, where he almost gets too cute for his own good. Like, right now, they're playing kind of a 4-3, like kind of a 4, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Sort of a 4-2-4 sort of thing at times, but they have, or kind of I guess they're playing a 4-2-3-1 with the outside backs bombing forward, but they have De Bruyne in that one of those sort of holding central midfielder roles. Mm-hmm. Now, I sort of have at times have seen moments where it makes sense to me, where De Bruyne will collect the ball and he will launch a counterattack, and he'll hit one of those passes on the ground that it beats 9 defenders at once and gets in Lukaku, and it's brilliant, and you say, okay, that makes sense. There are other times where their outside backs bomb forward, and all of a sudden now De Bruyne is being asked to play a role like N'Golo Kante, where he's supposed to put out fires, and it's like, that's not what Kevin De Bruyne is out there to do. And so for me, it's just like, I understand why Martinez wants to play the way he wants to play, because when it looks good, it looks beautiful, it looks amazing. But for me, it's like, I don't know if the World Cup's the time.
Maybe not practical enough.
Yes.
And this is, then Golan being left off was obviously a question. Do you have a problem with that choice? And I mean, is there? Obviously, he's got pieces again, and maybe he can cover for that. But you know, when you talk about a holding midfield role, or just even somebody to step in to put out fires, maybe late in the game, something like that, it's obviously a guy you would look at.
I mean, that seems pretty obvious to me. I mean, that one to me was it. I'm watching these games and I'm saying, who are they missing? And that's who they're missing. Because, I mean, they have Witsel and they have Dembele, who I guess could both play alongside each other and do that job if you needed it. But Martinez seems committed to playing in this way. Now, I don't know. I don't want to hate on it. Guardiola did it a few times this year with Manchester City. I would argue it was when they were playing like Southampton, and also a club season is you have more time to kind of work out tactics and figure out how to cover for each other. and maybe it works.
That's certainly a major thing. Is you're playing an international game, even if you have 3 weeks ahead of the World Cup. I mean, really, what are you getting? And friendlies only approximate things, and I don't know what Belgium's friendly results look like off the top of my head, but I don't think anybody sort of like rolled into this tournament where you're like, wow, they look fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Brazil was the one to me that I watched and said, okay, that's a team that knows what they're doing, and I like what they're doing.
Do you want to talk about, I mean, we have about 10 minutes before we want to shut this down. So let's talk about Brazil. Let's talk about, and specifically tomorrow, because again, we're sort of ranking some of the favorites based on their first game performances. We don't know yet about Brazil, and we don't know yet about Germany. So let's talk about Brazil and what the Swiss will present to them tomorrow.
I'm guessing the Swiss will pack it in.
They have to.
And what I love about this Brazil team is they have an answer. And what I like about them that France hasn't shown me so far, and this comes down to their personnel, because they're Brazil and they can do this. So Tite has a lot of their manager Tite has a lot of options that other managers don't have. But what I love about them is whatever you need them to do, they can do. If you want to, get tenacious and counter, they can do a midfield of Paulinho, Fernandinho, and Casemiro, and they're going to kick the crap out of you. And they're going to spring their 3 up top. It'll be Neymar and Gabi Jesus, and take your pick.
Right.
But what I love about them is if they take on a team that's like, Switzerland, who might pack it in, they can bring in Coutinho into the midfield. They can bring in Firmino as kind of a guy who likes playing in tight spaces. Neymar's great against anyone. And so what I like about them is whatever
guys that can break players down 1v1, create a little bit of space.
Exactly. They can bring in Willian. They have so many options that, for me, and he's not afraid to use them in different ways. And that's what I really like about this Brazil team is whatever you're going to do against them in a way that wasn't true of them 4 years ago. I think they're built to, and I think Tite's smart enough that it's basically like, all right, if you're going to throw that at me, here's what we're going to do.
I know. I think all of that probably matters more than what I'm about to say, but I'm always fascinated by the narrative elements of a team's World Cup campaign. And we've spent so much time on Messi, even beyond answering Ronaldo. It's about Messi. It's about his relationship with the Argentinian people. It's about this thing where he has to win a World Cup, which is the hardest thing to do in the world of football, to be considered the greatest of all time. It's an insane level of expectation. Neymar, while he hasn't gotten to the point of Messi being called a GOAT, and he's not that level, and he may not break into that final tier, although once Messi and Ronaldo retire, who knows what's out there for him. He did have an incredible amount of expectation in 2014 because it was on home soil. They obviously got to the semifinal stage and completely crashed out at the hands of Germany. And we know Germany was the best team in the world. There's zero. I mean, Brazil has expectation because they're Brazil.
Yes.
And there's expectations because there always are. But Neymar, because of the injury, he's kind of getting this. He's able to sort of coast in this tournament with just free as a bird to play however he wants.
And on top of that, I think the main reason they included him in that Olympic squad that won 2 years ago was now he's won a tournament
the thing that Brazil hadn't won.
Yes, right. And he won it on home soil, and I was in the stadium that day, and that nation lost its mind because Neymar had done it. Right. And for them, I think Brazil's just coming in like loose into this. Like I think they, I think the loss to Germany, of course, stings. If they somehow match up against each other, good Lord, like the narrative in that. But I think the Olympic win is a bigger deal than people think, and that it sort of took the pressure off. It kind of took the pressure off Neymar, and I mean, you should have seen him that day. It was like I couldn't believe it. It was like he's playing with a bunch of 20 youngins, and he's their old guy brought in. But I think they brought him in for a reason, and it was.
Man, you say he's an old guy. He's not an old guy.
He's not an old guy.
According to he's just not a player you would expect to be in the Olympics. Yeah. All right, so a couple minutes here, and again, it's hard to even think ahead because of everything that just happened today. All the four games that we just witnessed, and the 4 games we saw between Thursday and Friday. We have not seen England yet.
I'm excited about them.
Tell me about England.
I'm
I don't know
excited.
how to ask a question.
This is a weird England team for me in that, like, other than the Raheem Sterling nonsense with the press, I feel like it's not like, it doesn't feel life or death like it normally does with an England team. It sort of feels like good young side. We'll see what happens. We kind of like.
You know what? You know what my theory is on this? And I just came up with this, so this has not been tested at all. My theory is that the media in England is so obsessed with the political situation with Russia. And the fact nobody's going to Russia.
Yeah.
There's like maybe a couple thousand England fans in Russia, and hardy souls they are, that they haven't had as much time to focus on tearing down the England squad as they usually do.
Raheem Sterling is just taking Raheem
Sterling's taking a lot of the abuse.
He's just like the Superman standing there taking all the bullets for the rest.
And look, at Southgate, I think, is a calming influence. I had this mentioned to me that I think John Hart's told me that he thinks Southgate is the perfect guy for this team right now because he's not drawing extra attention. He's not making it about anything except going and winning games. It doesn't have to be precious, and he sort of earned his way into this job. I know it's because Allardyce screwed up.
Yeah.
But he earned his way into this job.
In that second group, I like this England team. I mean, Kane is one of those 5 or 10 players in the world who can create a goal out of nothing. And if you have one of those guys, and if everyone else is on board and playing well together, you can make a run. Like, for me, this team is built pretty well. I sort of like them that there's some questions at outside back. Yeah. I mean, like with a lot of these teams.
Well, so defensively, in general, because I think that's obviously where you expect them to go out and find some goals. But are they going to be able to stop when they face a Brazil or an Argentina or a Germany, Portugal even? Are they going to be able to do it?
That's going to be their limiting factor. I think this team could make a quarterfinal or semifinal, though. I think they're good enough, and I don't think they're quite there yet. But I think Southgate's been tremendous for them. I think he's managed expectations. I think it doesn't feel like England's in crisis before the tournament began, which for new fans to soccer, that's a new thing.
Yeah, no.
It's usually we're already in crisis here.
It's a very odd thing that there's so much good feeling around England. I mean, all this stuff about how they're letting the press, interview these guys individually. They're doing a lot of digital these days. Yeah. It's like, really? Stodgy old England has figured out the modern approach to it, and it fits their players. I mean, they are they're not the youngest team in the tournament by any stretch, but they are sort of rich with this newer generation of English talent.
Exactly, and a few of their players I thought made big steps forward this year, and Ali and Kane are fear no man, and so I don't know, I like this England team, which is not usually how I feel.
No, I wouldn't expect so. All right, so we've come just about to the end of this. I want to thank Nate Scott from SB Nation again. Make sure you're following. Of course, you can see the Twitter handle. You're blogging like a madman. You came here despite the fact you haven't slept, and I do appreciate that. I feel like I should buy you a beer, but I'm not sure what that will do to you.
I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to take you up on that.
So, I mean, just in the last minute or so we have here, give me your final impressions about today. I mean, I'm the guy who wants to pull out these threads and make it this big picture thing, but we're dealing with individual games that are all sort of microcosms of various things unto themselves.
Today, I guess my big takeaway is concern for France and Argentina.
Mm-hmm. More so Argentina than
France. Yeah. And then I'm heartbroken for Peru. I love this team. Yeah. I really loved watching them play. I love their energy. And unfortunately, I fear this might kind of doom them, and that's a bummer because it's such a wonderful story. This country is so supportive of them.
Yeah.
And they deserve great things, and who knows, maybe they'll stun someone and make it.
I'm a little disappointed by Nigeria today. I thought they might be a little bit better against Denmark. Give Denmark credit for the performance that they put in, and obviously we talked about tomorrow. Very anxious to see what Mexico does against.
Hey, I'm rooting for. I guess I'm. Here I'm buying the Fox Soccer BS. I'm rooting for Mexico. I hope they do well, and I hope they make it a game. I just be wary of Germany. They're very good at soccer.
Always. All right, Nate Scott, SB Nation, Compass Football, Jason Davis. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll be doing more stuff, and keep it tuned to Compass Football, YouTube, Facebook. Make sure you like and all of that and follow, and we'll see you guys.